Introduction to Jungian Archetypes and Gender Dynamics. Welcome to my channel, Philosos, where we delve into the depths of love, desire, and the intricate dance between men and women. Today, we're re-exploring a fascinating topic: how women test men as strength, a Jungian perspective. If you've ever felt confused or challenged by a woman's behavior in a relationship, this video is for you. We're going to unpack the psychological underpinnings of these dynamics through the lens of Carl Jung's groundbreaking work. First, let's set the stage by understanding what Jungian archetypes are. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, proposed that our psyches are shaped by universal patterns of behavior and symbols, which he called archetypes. These archetypes reside in the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experience. Among the most fundamental archetypes are the masculine and feminine, often referred to as the animus and anima, respectively. In Jungian psychology, every individual possesses both masculine and feminine energies, regardless of gender. The anima represents the feminine aspects within a man, while the animus embodies the masculine aspects within a woman. However, when we talk about gender dynamics in relationships, we're often looking at how these archetypes play out between partners. In romantic relationships, the interplay between the masculine and feminine can be both enchanting and perplexing. Women, often unconsciously, may test men's strength as a way to gauge their suitability as partners. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's a deeply ingrained psychological mechanism rooted in the need for security and compatibility. From a Jungian perspective, these tests can be seen as a way for the feminine to assess the masculine's ability to provide stability, protection, and emotional resilience. It's akin to the archetypal hero being tested by challenges to prove his worthiness. In modern relationships, these tests might not involve slaying dragons, but they can be just as daunting. For example, a woman might test a man's emotional strength by sharing her vulnerabilities and observing how he responds. Does he offer support and understanding, or does he become overwhelmed and retreat? This test isn't just about her need for comfort. It's also about assessing whether he can handle the full spectrum of her emotions, which is crucial for a deep, lasting connection. Another common test involves challenging a man's decisions or opinions. This isn't necessarily about disagreement. It's about seeing if he can stand firm in his convictions, while remaining open to her perspective. A man who can navigate this balance demonstrates both strength and flexibility, qualities that are highly valued in a partner. These tests are not always overt or intentional. Often, they arise from the unconscious, driven by the archetypes at play. Understanding this can help men approach these situations with greater empathy and insight, rather than frustration or confusion. The masculine archetype, often associated with the hero, the king, or the warrior, embodies qualities like assertiveness, logic, and action. It's about taking charge, making decisions, and providing structure. On the other hand, the feminine archetype, linked to the lover, the mother, or the mystic, represents intuition, emotion, and receptivity. It's about nurturing, connecting, and flowing with life's rhythms. In a relationship, these archetypes can complement each other beautifully. The masculine provides direction and protection, while the feminine offers emotional depth and nurturing. However, when these energies are out of balance, conflicts can arise. Women testing men as strength can be seen as a way to ensure that the masculine energy is robust enough to support the feminine. It's not just about physical strength, but emotional and psychological fortitude. A man who can weather the storms of a woman's emotional landscape, who can stand firm in his truth while honoring hers, is seen as a worthy partner. Jung also spoke of the shadow, the unconscious part of the psyche that contains repressed or denied aspects of ourselves. In relationships, the shadow can emerge through projections, where we attribute our own, unacknowledged traits to our partners. Women might test men to see if they can confront and integrate their shadows, rather than projecting them onto others. For instance, if a woman feels insecure, she might test a man's loyalty to see if he will abandon her, reflecting her own fear of abandonment. A man who can recognize this and respond with reassurance and stability helps her confront her shadow, fostering growth for both. Understanding these dynamics through a Jungian lens can transform how we navigate relationships. Instead of reacting defensively to tests, men can see them as opportunities for growth and deeper connection. By embodying the hero archetype, they can rise to the challenge, proving their strength not through dominance, but through presence and understanding. Carl Jung was a pioneer in psychology, breaking away from Freud's focus on sexuality to explore the depths of the unconscious mind. His work on archetypes, The collective unconscious and individuation has profoundly influenced not only psychology, but also literature, art, and spirituality. Jung believed that our psyches are composed of various archetypes that shape our behaviors and perceptions. In the context of relationships, these archetypes guide how we interact with the opposite sex. For men, the anima represents their inner feminine, influencing how they relate to women. For women, the animus embodies their inner masculine, affecting their expectations of men. When a woman tests a man, she is, in a sense, interacting with his anima. If a man's anima is underdeveloped, he might struggle to understand or connect with her on an emotional level. Conversely, a man who has integrated his anima can empathize with her feelings and respond appropriately. Similarly, a woman's animus influences her perception of men's strength. If her animus is overly critical or idealized, she might set unrealistic standards for her partner, leading to frequent tests or dissatisfaction. By becoming aware of these archetypal influences, both men and women can work towards greater self-understanding and harmony in their relationships. Jung's process of which involves integrating the various aspects of the psyche, is key to achieving this balance. In relationships, individuation means recognizing and owning our projections, shadows, and archetypes, rather than expecting our partners to fulfill unmet needs or compensate for our deficiencies. When both partners are on this path, tests become less about proving worth and more about mutual growth and support. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into the specific ways women might test men and how these behaviors connect to Jungian archetypes. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights into the psychology of love and relationships. Common ways women test men. In this section, we'll explore some of the common ways women test men's strength, drawing on Jungian archetypes to understand the deeper psychological dynamics at play. These tests can take many forms, from subtle emotional cues to more overt challenges, but they all serve a similar purpose: to assess a man's ability to embody the masculine archetype in a way that complements the feminine. One of the most prevalent tests is the emotional challenge. Women might share their fears, insecurities, or past traumas to see how a man responds. This isn't just about seeking comfort. It's a way to gauge his emotional capacity. Does he listen attentively, offering empathy and support, or does he become uncomfortable and try to fix the problem? A man who can hold space for her emotions, without being overwhelmed or dismissive, demonstrates emotional strength and maturity. From a Jungian perspective, this test relates to the inner. A man who has integrated his anima can connect with his own emotions and, by extension, with hers. He understands that vulnerability is not weakness but a bridge to intimacy. Conversely, a man who is disconnected from his anima might struggle with emotional expression, leading to misunderstandings or conflicts. Another common test involves boundaries. Women might challenge a man's decisions, opinions, or plans to see if he can stand his ground while remaining open to her input. This isn't about control, but about assessing his confidence and flexibility. A man who can assert his perspective calmly and respectfully, without becoming defensive or aggressive, shows that he is secure in his masculinity. This dynamic can be linked to the hero archetype. The hero must face challenges and adversaries to prove his worth, but he does so with honor and integrity. In relationships, the adversary might be the woman's differing viewpoint, and the battle is one of communication and mutual respect. By navigating this test successfully, a man embodies the hero's qualities of courage and wisdom. Loyalty tests are another way women might assess a man's strength. This could involve flirting with others in his presence or questioning his commitment. While this behavior can be hurtful, it's often driven by the woman's own insecurities or past experiences. From a Jungian lens, this test might stem from the shadow aspect of the anima, or animus, where unhealed wounds manifest as distrust or fear of abandonment. A man who can respond to loyalty tests with reassurance and consistency, rather than jealousy or anger, demonstrates emotional security. He understands that her test is not a reflection of his worth, but of her inner struggles. By holding steady, he helps her confront her shadow and build trust. Let's consider a real-life example. Imagine a couple where the woman frequently questions the man's whereabouts or accuses him of being unfaithful, despite no evidence. This behavior might be a test of his loyalty and patience. If he reacts with anger or defensiveness, it could escalate the conflict. However, if he calmly reassures her and sets healthy boundaries, he addresses both her fears and the need for mutual respect. Another test might involve the woman withdrawing emotionally or physically to see if the man will pursue her. This can be confusing for men, as it seems counterintuitive. However, from a Jungian perspective, this withdrawal might represent the feminine's need for space to process emotions or to test the man's desire and commitment. A man who can give her space while remaining emotionally available shows that he respects her needs and trusts the relationship. He doesn't chase her out of insecurity, but allows her to come back on her own terms. This balance of independence and connection is a hallmark of integrated masculine and feminine energies. It's important to note that these tests are not always conscious or intentional. Women might not realize they are testing their partners. It's often an unconscious process driven by archetypal energies. Similarly, men might not recognize these behaviors as tests, leading to misunderstandings or resentment. By bringing awareness to these dynamics, both partners can approach them with greater understanding and compassion. Men can learn to see these tests as opportunities for growth, rather than threats to their ego. Women can become more conscious of their behaviors and communicate their needs more directly. Let's explore the concept of the trickster archetype in testing dynamics. The trickster is an archetype that challenges norms and provokes change, often through mischief or deception. In relationships, women might embody the trickster by testing men in unexpected or playful ways. For instance, a woman might tease a man about his habits or playfully challenge his authority on a subject. This isn't meant to belittle him, but to see if he can handle light-hearted banter without taking it personally. A man who can laugh at himself and engage in playful repartee shows confidence and adaptability. From a Jungian perspective, the trickster serves to disrupt stagnation and encourage growth. By testing a man in this way, a woman invites him to step out of his comfort zone and embrace a more flexible, dynamic version of himself. Another test might involve the woman expressing her desires or needs in a way that requires the man to take initiative. For example, she might hint at wanting a romantic gesture rather than asking directly. This test assesses his attentiveness and willingness to meet her needs without being told explicitly. A man who can pick up on these cues and act accordingly demonstrates emotional intelligence and a deep understanding of her. This aligns with the lover archetype, which is attuned to beauty, pleasure, and connection. However, it's crucial for both partners to communicate openly. While tests can be part of the relationship dance, relying too heavily on them can lead to confusion and frustration. Encouraging direct communication alongside these archetypal dynamics can create a healthier, more transparent relationship. Let's consider another scenario. Suppose a woman is feeling overwhelmed and expresses it by becoming distant. A man who recognizes this as a test of his support might offer to help with tasks or simply be present without pressuring her to talk. By doing so, he shows that he can be a pillar of strength in times of stress. In Jungian terms, this relates to the king archetype, which provides order and stability. A man embodying the king can create a safe space for the woman to express her vulnerabilities, knowing that he will hold the container of the relationship steady. It's also worth noting that not all tests are healthy or constructive. Some behaviors might stem from unresolved trauma or toxic patterns. In such cases, it's important for both partners to seek professional help or engage in self-reflection to address underlying issues. For example, if a woman consistently tests a man's loyalty to the point of obsession, it might indicate deeper trust issues that need to be healed. Similarly, if a man responds to tests with controlling behavior or emotional withdrawal, it could signal his own unintegrated shadows. Jung's concept of the shadow reminds us that we all have parts of ourselves that we deny or repress. In relationships, these shadows can emerge, often through projection onto our partners. By recognizing and owning our shadows, we can reduce the need for testing and create more authentic connections. As we wrap up part 2, remember that understanding these tests is not about blaming or judging, but about fostering empathy and growth. In the next section, we'll discuss how men can respond to these tests in a way that honors both their masculine strength and the feminine need for security and connection. Stay tuned for more insights, men's responses, and the Jungian hero's journey in this part. We'll explore how men can respond to women as tests in a way that aligns with Jung's hero archetype and fosters personal and relational growth. The hero's journey, a central theme in Jungian psychology, involves facing challenges, overcoming obstacles, and emerging transformed. In the context of relationships, women as tests can be seen as the trials the hero must navigate to prove his worth and deepen his connection with the feminine. First, it's essential for men to cultivate self-understanding that a woman's behavior might be a test rather then a personal attack can shift the dynamic from reactive to responsive. This awareness allows men to approach the situation with curiosity and compassion, rather than defensiveness. For example, if a woman challenges a man's decision, he might initially feel criticized. However, by recognizing this as a test of his confidence, he can respond by calmly explaining his reasoning and inviting her perspective. This not only addresses the test but also strengthens their communication. Emotional intelligence is another crucial skill. Men who can identify and manage their emotions are better equipped to handle the emotional challenges women might present. This doesn't mean suppressing feelings, but rather expressing them in a healthy, constructive way. Let's say a woman shares her insecurities, testing the man's emotional capacity. A man with high emotional intelligence can listen, validate her feelings, and offer support without trying to fix her. This response shows that he can handle her emotional depth, passing the test and deepening their bond. Personal growth is also key. Women's tests often highlight areas where men can develop greater strength or resilience. By viewing these tests as opportunities for self-improvement, men can embark on their own hero's journey, integrating their shadows and becoming more whole. For instance, if a man consistently struggles with loyalty tests, it might indicate his own fears or insecurities. By addressing these through therapy, self-reflection, or open communication, he can heal and grow, ultimately strengthening the relationship. Jung's concept of individuation is particularly relevant here. Individuation is the process of becoming a unique, integrated individual by reconciling the conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. In relationships, this means owning one's projections, shadows, and archetypes, rather than expecting the partner to fulfill unmet needs. When a man individuates, he becomes less reactive to tests because he is secure in himself. He can respond from a place of authenticity and strength, rather than ego or fear. This not only helps him pass the tests, but also inspires the woman to embark on her own journey of growth. Let's consider the hero's journey in more detail. In mythology, the hero often faces a series of trials, each designed to test his courage, wisdom, or integrity. Similarly, in relationships, women's tests can be seen as trials that challenge the man's character. For example, a woman might test a man's patience by being late or forgetting important dates. While this can be frustrating, a man who responds with understanding and humor, rather than anger, demonstrates emotional maturity. He passes the test by showing that he can handle minor inconveniences without losing his cool. Another aspect of the hero's journey is the confrontation with the shadow. In relationships, this might involve acknowledging and integrating one's own flaws or past mistakes. When a woman tests a man by bringing up his shortcomings, he can choose to deny or deflect, or he can own his mistakes and commit to growth. By choosing the latter, he not only passes the test, but also deepens the trust and intimacy in the relationship. This aligns with the hero's journey, where facing the shadow leads to transformation and enlightenment. It's also important for men to set healthy boundaries. While responding to tests with empathy and strength is crucial, it's equally important to maintain one's integrity and if a test feels manipulative or disrespectful, a man should communicate his boundaries clearly and assertively. For instance, if a woman frequently tests a man's loyalty in ways that feel invasive, he can express how this behavior affects him and what he needs to feel secure in the relationship. This not only addresses the test, but also fosters mutual respect. From a Jungian perspective, setting boundaries is part of embodying the king archetype, which provides structure and order. A man who can set and enforce boundaries demonstrates leadership and qualities that are attractive to the feminine. Moreover, men can use these tests as mirrors to reflect on their own growth. Each test can reveal areas where they need to develop greater strength, whether it's emotional resilience, communication skills, or by embracing this reflective process, men can turn challenges into catalysts for personal evolution. Let's look at a practical example. Suppose a woman tests a man's commitment by suggesting they take a break. Instead of panicking or pleading, a man can respond by acknowledging her need for space and expressing his desire to work through issues together when she is ready. This response shows maturity and respect for her autonomy, while also affirming his commitment. In Jungian terms, this reflects the lover archetype, which values connection and intimacy, but also respects individual freedom. By embodying this archetype, a man can navigate the test with grace and wisdom. As we conclude, remember that women's tests are not obstacles to overcome, but invitations to grow. By approaching them with self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a commitment to personal development, men can embody the hero archetype and create deeper, more fulfilling relationships. In the final part, we'll explore how integrating the masculine and feminine energies can lead to a harmonious and balanced partnership. Stay with us for the conclusion of this journey. That's within the target range. Now, for the final part, integrating the masculine and feminine in this final section, we'll discuss how successful navigation of women's tests can lead to a more balanced integration of masculine and feminine energies within both partners and the relationship as a whole. When men respond to these tests with strength, empathy, and they not only pass the tests but also create a dynamic where both individuals can thrive. Jungian psychology emphasizes the importance of integrating the anima and animaste, inner feminine and masculine, respectively. For men, integrating the anima means embracing qualities like intuition, emotion, and receptivity alongside their masculine traits. For women, integrating the animus involves owning their assertiveness, logic, and action-oriented nature. When both partners work towards this integration, the need for testing diminishes, because each is more whole and less reliant on the other to fulfill missing aspects of themselves. The relationship becomes a space for mutual support and growth, rather than a battleground for unmet needs. Let's explore how this integration manifests in relationships. A man who has integrated his anima is comfortable with his emotions and can connect deeply with his partner. He doesn't see vulnerability as a weakness but as a strength that fosters intimacy. Similarly, a woman who has integrated her animus can assert her needs clearly and confidently, reducing the need for indirect tests. For example, instead of testing a man's loyalty through jealous-inducing behavior, a woman might directly communicate her fears and ask for reassurance. This directness not only honors her animus, but also invites the man to respond from his integrated self. Moreover, when both partners are integrated, they can appreciate and celebrate each other's differences. The masculine's need for autonomy can coexist with the feminine's desire for connection, creating a dynamic where both feel valued and understood. From a Jungian perspective, this balance reflects the sacred marriage, or Eros Gamos, where the masculine and feminine unite in harmony. In relationships, this can manifest as a deep, soulful connection where both partners feel seen, heard, and loved for who they are. Practically, couples can foster this integration through open communication, mutual respect, and a willingness to explore their inner worlds. Activities like couples therapy, workshops on Jungian psychology, or even reading and discussing books on the topic can deepen their understanding and connection. Additionally, individual practices like journaling, meditation, or dream analysis can help each partner connect with their unconscious and integrate their archetypes. By doing this inner work, they bring a more complete self to the relationship, reducing the need for external validation or testing. Let's consider a couple where both partners have done significant inner work. The woman feels secure in her animus and can express her needs directly. The man, connected to his anima, can listen empathetically and respond with compassion. In this dynamic, tests are rare because both are attuned to each other's needs and can address issues proactively. However, integration is an ongoing process, not a destination. Life's challenges will continue to test both partners, but with a foundation of self-awareness and mutual support, they can navigate these challenges together. For viewers seeking to apply these insights, here are some practical steps. Cultivate self-awareness. Reflect on your behaviors and reactions in relationships. Are there patterns that might indicate unintegrated archetypes or shadows? Communicate openly. Encourage direct communication with your partner about your needs, fears, and desires. This reduces the need for testing and fosters trust. Embrace vulnerability. See vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness. Sharing your true self deepens intimacy and connection. Set healthy boundaries. Respect your own and your partner's boundaries. This creates a safe space for both to grow. Seek growth opportunities. View challenges as opportunities for personal and relational development. Embrace the hero's journey in your own life. By following these steps, you can create a relationship that is not only resilient, but also deeply fulfilling. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate tests entirely, but to transform them into catalysts for growth and deeper connection. As we wrap up this series, I hope you've gained valuable insights into the psychological dynamics of love and relationships. Understanding how women test men's strength through a Jungian lens can empower you to navigate these challenges with grace and wisdom. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, this is Philosos, wishing you love and growth in all your relationships. Let's add a reflection on the broader implications of integrating masculine and feminine energies beyond individual relationships. The integration of masculine and feminine energies has profound implications for society as a whole. In a world often divided by gender stereotypes and power imbalances, embracing both energies can lead to greater harmony and understanding. When men and women honor both their masculine and feminine sides, they can break free from limiting roles and express their full humanity. This not only benefits their personal lives but also contributes to a more balanced and compassionate world. As Jung himself said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. By engaging in this alchemical process within ourselves and our relationships, we can transform not only our lives, but also the collective consciousness. So, as you go forth, remember that every interaction, every test, and every moment of connection is an opportunity to grow and integrate. Embrace the journey, and may you find the strength and wisdom to navigate it with grace. Thank you again for watching. If you're interested in exploring more topics on love, psychology, and personal growth, be sure to check out my other videos. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, this is Philosos, signing off.